Asma, and today we're making hot noodles with sesame paste. This is a very popular breakfast in the south of China. People usually just eat a bowl of this hot noodle with sesame paste and drink a cup of soy milk, and that is their breakfast. This could obviously be eaten as a lunch or dinner as well, and this is usually eaten warm because people eat this in the winter days as well, but this could also be eaten cold. So let's get started. For the ingredients you will need: 400 grams of soda noodles, 2 green onions finely chopped, 2 eggs, 2 baby cucumbers shredded, 5 cloves garlic crushed, 4 tablespoons of sesame paste, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons plus half a teaspoon of flavourless oil, 3 tablespoons of roasted peanuts that are chopped, 2 tablespoons of sesame oil, 2 tablespoons of zhacai, 2 teaspoons of salt, and half a cup of drinking water. To make a traditional hot noodle with sesame paste, you will be needing a kind of noodle called soda noodles. And just from the name, you can tell there's obviously baking soda in it. And this tastes very different from a traditional spaghetti. So it is very easily found in Chinese supermarkets in China. But if you can't find it, you can make it yourself like I did here. This is fresh soda noodles that I just made. If you want to make this noodle in a pasta maker like I did here, the recipe is 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, half a cup of water, salt and baking soda, 1 teaspoon each. And I made this in a pasta maker, but if you don't have a pasta maker, you could do it by hand. I'm not going to show you how to do it today, but all you need to do is mix the salt and baking soda together with the flour. After mixing together the dry ingredients, just place this in a pasta maker, slowly add in the water, and you can make 400 grams of soda noodles. But if you don't have a pasta maker, you could just do this by hand. But the key is to use the right ratio of the flour, salt, and baking soda. I have filled my pot with water about halfway, and now I'm going to boil the noodles. Now when you're boiling the noodles, you want to make sure you add enough water so that the noodles won't become too sticky. So now I'm just going to get it on the stove for it to boil. We're now going to prepare the rest of our ingredients. So first I'm going to mince all of my garlic cloves. Once the garlic is finely minced, I'm going to add it into a bowl. I'm going to add the salt. Then I'm going to add half a cup of drinking water since we're not going to cook this. The garlic water is a very special part in this noodle. It's kind of like a sauce. It is salty and is full of the garlic flavor. So after it is mixed through, I'm going to set it aside and prepare the rest of the ingredients. I'm going to add in about a teaspoon of salt, and this is not for flavor, it's just making sure that the noodles don't stick to each other. So now I'm just going to put in all of my noodles. Just going to mix it around so that it all loosens up and doesn't stick to each other. Once that's mixed through, I'm going to put on the lid. And we're going to keep an eye on it when it cooks because when it boils, it will overflow. As you can see, it's starting to foam, so I'm going to add it in a cup of cold water. I'm just going to put on the lid and let it cook. Since this is a fresh noodle, it only takes about 4 to 5 minutes to cook. You do not want to undercook this or overcook it. And to see if it's just right, all you need to do is take one of the noodles. As you can see, there isn't like a little white spot in the middle of the noodle. That means it's just cooked. You can also take a little taste test, and if it's not too sticky in your mouth, that means it is just cooked. Discard any of the boiling water and make sure you do not drink this because there is a lot of baking soda in it. Now pour it into some cold drinking water to get rid of any extra cornstarch. This way it's a little less stickier. After putting it in the cold drinking water, I'm going to pour it back into the strainer. And you don't want to soak it in the cold water for too long or else the noodles might get a little too soggy. I'm just getting rid of any of the extra water. And as you can see, this is very nice and loose because we got rid of all the extra starch. Once the noodles are dry, I'm going to pour it into a clean and dry dish. Then we're going to mix it with some oil. And this is flavorless oil. You could use vegetable oil, you could use sunflower oil. I'm using corn oil today. And just mix it all together. And this step is also to make sure that none of the noodles stick together. The noodles are now ready. For some people who want to make a huge batch of this at a time, you could just place this in the fridge. You could keep it up to 2 days until you want to eat it, which is why we do so much things to make sure it doesn't stick. So now I'm just going to set it aside. For the cucumbers, I have washed this, and I'm just going to chop off the ends. Then I'm going to grate it. I'm using a grater today, but you could also just chop this up into fine pieces. Now we're going to chop up our zhacai. And this is basically a Chinese pickled mustard, which you can find in a Chinese supermarket. This is a very special ingredient in this hot noodle with sesame paste. But if you can't find it, you could obviously just leave it out. And this is how it looks like. And now for the green onions, we're just going to chop up the ends and finally chop it up. Now I'm going to crack 2 eggs into a bowl. Add half a teaspoon of the oil into the egg so that it doesn't stick to the pan. And just mix it all together. The pan is nice and hot, so I'm just going to pour in the eggs. I'm just going to let it cook until the top is solidified so that I can flip it. I'm turning it down to medium heat so that the bottom doesn't burn. I'm running the spatula around the edge so that it's easier to, so that it's loose from the pan, and it makes it easier to flip. I'm going to let it cook for another 30 seconds and then going to turn off the heat. Slice it into thin slices. And lastly, I have sesame paste. You can find this in a Chinese supermarket, but all of the consistencies are different. Today I'm adding in a 1/4 cup of water, but if the consistency of the sesame paste you buy is too thick, you can add more water. I'm adding in a 1/4 cup of warm water, and it has to be warm because if it's cold, when you mix it into the sesame paste, it will separate and it's just going to be water and sesame paste, and you don't want that. You want to add enough water for it to look a little like salad dressing, but if you can't find sesame paste, you could just substitute it with peanut butter. So I'm just going to add the water into the sesame paste and mix it through. It will look a little gross at first and looks like it's not going to come together, which is why you want warm water. So just keep mixing and it will come together eventually. Keep mixing this until the consistency is like salad dressing and everything is one color and there are no more lumps in it. And the key to success is to make sure you use warm drinking water for this. And you just keep mixing until everything is one color. At first, it might not look like it's gonna come together, but just keep mixing and it will. So this is ready. We have all of our ingredients ready. We have the cucumbers, eggs, zhacai or pickled mustard, green onion, soy sauce, garlic water, sesame oil, chopped and roasted peanuts, and the sesame paste. Now, if you want to eat some warm noodles in the morning after it's been in the fridge overnight, because it is called a hot noodle for a reason, there are two ways of making a warm again. The first way, you could just pop it in the microwave for about 20 seconds, but the traditional way is to pass it through some boiling water, which is the way I'm going to show you today. To reheat it in the traditional way, I have a pot of boiling water here. Take a strainer and place the amount of noodles you want to reheat on top of that. And just place it into some boiling water for about 10 seconds. And make sure you do not put it in there for too long because it will get soggy. And make sure you strain away all the excess water and place it into a bowl. And that's how you reheat the noodles the traditional way. And now we are ready to put it all together. So I'm going to start off with the zhacai or the pickled mustard. And you could add as much or as little of this, but this is salty. So if you add too much of this, you want to change the amount of the soy sauce and the garlic water. Then I'm going to add the eggs, the cucumber, and you could change the amount for all of these according to your personal preference. Add the green onions. For the garlic water, the garlic is kind of spicy, so if you don't want that, you could just use the garlic water on the top, but I'm going to be using the garlic today. And if you add too much of this, you want to change the amount of the soy sauce because these are both very salty. So now for the soy sauce. This is the sesame oil. And finally, the sesame paste. So just stir it up a little before you use it. And you can see the consistency is like salad dressing. And finally, the chopped and roasted peanuts. You could leave this out if you're allergic to peanuts or you just don't have peanuts. And that is it. And that's how you make hot noodles with sesame paste. This is a very fast and easy process to make because you could do all of these preparations ahead of time, and in the morning it's very fast to put it together. This is quite healthy because there are vegetables and there are eggs, so you don't need to worry about not having enough energy for the rest of the day. And this is also very delicious. And if you want it to be spicy, you could whether add more garlic or you could add some chili sauce. And this is something that you should really try, and I promise you won't regret it. So thanks for watching and see you guys next time. Bye!